Hello, my name is Darwin Wade with the City of Arlington. Each April, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, along with cities and organizations across the country, raise awareness of the Fair Housing Act, which protects renters and home buyers from discrimination while getting a mortgage, seeking housing, or other housing-related activities. As part of our activities, we have invited our guest, Sharon Richard, to give us more details about housing issues in Arlington and how we're working to solve them. Sharon is the chair of the subcommittee on housing for the Arlington Unity Council, a major initiative sponsored by the mayor and council. Sharon, we thank you for being here today. So let's get started.
Okay.
First question, tell us about how this report from the City of Arlington and the Unity Council came about.
So last year, the City of Arlington's mayor and council, as a response to all of the racial unrest that our country experienced, decided to create this task force, the Unity Council, to study the issues within the city and then to bring them a report back detailing all of the work that we've done and also to provide some recommendations, some solutions. And so that's how the Unity Council came to be.
Why did city leaders and the council feel this report would be important to put together, and what were the outcomes they wanted to achieve?
So I think the first thing the city thought was important was for a body to study the issues, to see what was going on within Arlington and allow this body, the Unity Council, that's made up of residents in Arlington, to provide some recommendations and solutions.
Okay, great. Arlington is the 8th most racially and ethnic diverse city in the country. What are some things we are doing right to attract and keep a diverse population, and where is there room for improvement?
So Arlington is a really welcoming community, and I believe that is a direct correlation for the diversity that we see. Arlington has great schools, there are great jobs here, there are safe neighborhoods, there are a lot of things to do for families, for adults, and so I think that is what has attracted the diverse population that's here. And as a byproduct of that diversity, as we've seen more people of color moving into Arlington, Arlington has also experienced what's known as white flight, and that's where a segment of white population has steadily left Arlington. So from the years 2000 to 2017, Arlington's lost about 20% of its white population. And so that's something that we talked about on the Unity Council, and it's a hard thing because you can't force people to live here, and so I think part of the solution is education. It's engagement and letting people know that just because your neighborhood gets more diverse, that does not mean that your property values will go down. That does not mean that your crime will increase. In fact, it's just the opposite. Diverse neighborhoods are great neighborhoods.
So you served on the city's Unity Council with a special focus on housing. What are some of the key things that you learned on that subcommittee?
Well, I learned a lot. Came into this process interested in housing, but by no stretch of the imagination did I consider myself an expert. I found that, one, the city of Arlington definitely is not as bad as some other cities. However, there's room for growth. I also learned that, in particular, the African American population in Arlington, among the communities of color, the African American population is generally higher when we talk about education, when we talk about rent burden, salary, and those sorts of things. The African American population is really doing pretty good in comparison to some similar cities, whereas our Latino and Asian populations are not doing as well. And so that is definitely room for growth because there are some disparate numbers from the white population and those communities of colors.
Okay. So tell me about the statistics or findings that surprised you. What were some aspects that validated what you felt was happening in the community in regards to housing?
So I think that surprising statistic were the numbers for African Americans. Another thing, I didn't realize that Arlington had as many pockets of poverty. We all know that Central and East Arlington are have some heavy concentrations of poverty. However, we found within other areas of the city, there are smaller pockets of poverty that also need to be addressed. And so that's something that was sort of surprising. For example, in Southeast Arlington, which is the newer part of Arlington, there are still some pockets of poverty that have issues that definitely need to be addressed.
All right. So what misconception do people have about low-income housing and mixed-income neighborhoods?
That is a great question. There is this thing called NIMBYism, and that's not in my backyard. People don't want low-income housing or affordable housing in their neighborhoods because there is a misconception that those types of housing bring your property values down. They also increase crime. That is absolutely false. Those things do not happen. Now, what we'll see is that areas of high crime will have low income housing brought in, and so that just exacerbates the problem.
That's good information. So what are some of the next steps after reviewing the statistics that your committee and the Unity Council are considering?
Okay. So the step that's happened since we presented the report to the Unity Council, city staff has now come back with a report, a plan, if you will, detailing all of the recommendations, where they fall, whether they're short-term, long-term, or medium-term goals. And so the city staff is actively working on implementing a lot of our solutions. And so from a Unity Council standpoint, our job is to now hold our city leaders accountable, to keep in touch and ask, where are we at this point, and stay engaged in the process.
All right. So are there ways people in our community can get involved, and what are they?
Absolutely. Contact your city council representatives. Ask the questions. If you see something, say something, express those things. Our council members, they love to hear from our citizens. You can also attend city council meetings. They're held in person and virtually. They're also on TV. So those are just a couple of ways to get involved. Speak to your neighbors. If you have ideas, bring those. The more ideas, the better.
Great. All righty. So where do we go from here?
Where we go from here, we start implementing some of those things that are in our Unity Council report. We remain engaged. We hold our city staff, we hold our council members accountable to doing the work. And the Unity Council's report was just the first step. There's many more things that need to happen. There's more studies that need to be done. And so this is just the first step. And I'd just like to convey that I am so proud of the city of Arlington for taking this important step that is action oriented and that's also data driven.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we would like to thank Sharon for all of the great insight. You have provided a lot of great information. If you would like to learn more about fair housing issues or how to report violations, check out the city's website at www.arlingtontx.gov/fairhousing. Thank you.